on DGen Nation? Kenny Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast this week for the Sentry. As usual, I'm here with everybody's favorite Canadian, Tyler Tamboline. Tyler, what is up? How was the break? How are things going?
It's good to be back, Kenny. Golf is back. Seems like NFL just flew by this season. Obviously, we still have a little bit of NFL to go, the playoffs, the exciting stuff, the Super Bowl, but good to be back here with my friend. The offseason was good. NFL season has been very good, so having some fun with it over at Ship It Nation. Want to talk about that quickly. This is going to be a preview show. We're recording this on Tiger Woods' birthday, 100 days, fitting, 100 days away from the Masters. If it tells you how real this is to being back with golf and everything, we are going to do our normal Sentry preview at the end of the show. But before we get into everything, I want to remind everyone very quickly, this show and pod are brought to you and presented by ShipItNation.com. If you want to check it out, it's a site that I'm part owner at. You can go over to ShipItNation.com, use the promo code Mayo to get 10% off any of the monthly plans. So there's monthly, 6 months, annual. If you want to just try it for a week, you can do that as well. But projections, ownership, tools, rankings. Lee Aldrich came over, formerly of Fanshare Sports. He's got his course fit rankings, his value report, which will be free each week. You can check that out. The other sports, NFL going on, all playoffs, NBA, NHL, MMA when it comes back around. And then we'll have baseball and other stuff to go with it. And then lastly, we did just record, Hoop and myself, a 2-hour PGA DFS education course, breaking down everything from live final, the 3-round setup. Those are in the lobby starting this week for the Sentry. If you want to see about that, you can talk about satellites and getting in to have a shot at them. All the other stuff with bankroll management, cash games, GPPs. That course comes free along with our NBA and NHL course on any sign up at ShipItNation.com. Secondly, real quick, Kenny, just want to talk about this. Obviously, Mayo's got the one and done going on over at FantasyGolfChampionships.com. The reason I bring it up, I think it's the best one out there. $200 buy-in, but that's for the entire season. So while it is $200 up front, you get the fun of each week. I even got my dad one for Christmas. You guys can do the same. A late Christmas gift, a New Year's gift, whatever. Spend some more time talking with your parents, maybe get them involved, friends, family that you know. $200. First is $80,000. The top 10 get 5 figures or more. Like, it's a very balanced structure. It starts at the Sony Open, so plenty of time to get in. FantasyGolfChampionships.shgn.com. Get in. We are going to be giving some of those away. And I'll end with that real quick, Andy, before we get in, because the Listener League conversation for this upcoming season, it will start at the Sony Open. We're going to start somewhere in the vicinity of 750 entries for that. But for the winners from last season, I know this is now called the Sentry, the event we're going to talk about, but we have our own Tournament of Champions. All the winners of last year's FGD Listener League will be going into a pool for the upcoming Sony Open, not this week, but the next. We'll have the prizes and breakdown on next week's pod. Going to be some cash, some memberships, some annual memberships, maybe some tool sites, things like that. A lot of good stuff thrown in. But also this week, and we'll tweet this out, I have the list of all the members that have joined that were winners from last season. Going to put them into a randomizer, and someone before the Sony Open, since we're going to play it at the Sony Open, is going to win a one-and-done entry, $200 US entry to get into this tournament to win $80,000 up top. So that's going to be the way it breaks down, Kenny. What was your break like, man? You probably have a million stories racked up by now to tell this season, but hope you had some fun.
Break wasn't that exciting. You know, I do have a story time with Kenny lined up that I've been talking about for the last few months. I'm thinking the players. The players would be a good one to release that one. So we got a couple months before that comes out. Trying to quit smoking. I'm getting there. I used Pat's Lucy, little gum and little pouches, the nicotine pouches, to try and quit. I'm down to like 1 or 2 a day. The one cigarette I can't get rid of is the one when I'm sitting on the shit, my first shit of the day. Like the first shit of the day, you sit there, it's a nice 10, 15-minute shit, smoke your cigarette, read the news on your phone, check out your bets from the night before, blah, 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 whatever. So that one has been the tough cigarette for me to remove. I've gone days where I've only had one, and that's been my one. So we're getting to the time where I'm going to stop completely. We'll see how it goes. I know that I've been extremely irritable. People have said at work, little shit has been driving me crazy. So hopefully I can just quit this smoking, get all this drugs out of my system, the anti-smoking drugs, all that good stuff, because it's supposed to cause like irritability, all that crazy shit. And get me back to normal and healthier with no more cigarettes. That's so good. We'll see how that goes.
Did you ever try the gum right when you wake up, though, beforehand, instead of the smoke, put the gum, because you're not going to want to smoke with the gum in, right? Then you can still take the shit.
I guess I could, but I mean, you're drowsy, you just go to the toilet.
Have it ready on the dresser.
Maybe.
Wake up, pop it.
That's the next step. That's where I need to go. I need to lose a little bit more weight too. But I mean, hey, it's the new year. That's what you think about, right? Your health and stuff that you need to change to make yourself better. So we're trying. We're trying over here. That is the goal. But yeah, a lot of stuff that we missed in the golf world in the last month. It feels like the last month we've been off, there's been storylines for enough for a full year. So, I mean, okay, here's the thing about this pod. We're going to go over the stuff that we missed. We're going to go over the preview for this season, and then we're going to go into the Sentry. So make sure you check your time codes if you want to see certain parts of the show. If you just want to talk about Sentry and hear our talk about that, just go ahead and skip this part that we're about to do right now. Because first thing we're going to talk about, of course, is Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm, I guess the rumors are out there before our last pod, I think for the RSM Classic, that he was going to go. It happened early in December. He came out with a Letterman jacket on Fox News. Pretty wild stuff that happened. He sort of toed the line about growing the game, bullshit, and stuff like that. I mean, it was for the money. He might be the smartest one out of the group, not facing as much backlash as the OGs that went out first. And then, he might be able to get the bag and come back within a year or two and play the PGA Tour as well. So it could end up being just a genius move by Jon Rahm. Will it affect his legacy? Will it affect how people think about him? Maybe. But if he's only gone for a year or two and he comes back and plays on the PGA Tour again, will people really remember this? All they remember is him getting $500 million and still being one of the best golfers in the world. It seems like a smart business play to me. Now, what it does for the PGA Tour is a little bit different, as it really shows. I mean, a couple more guys that they pull away, it's really, really going to dilute the product even more than what it is now, and that's going to be a huge problem with sponsors, with fans, with the whole viewing process of golf. So what this basically does, in my opinion, is it gave the PIF fund leverage. They're like, we're going to keep poaching your people unless you start working with us. I know you went and talked with some other groups, the Fenway group, the sporting groups, whatever the hell, behind our backs. This is what we're going to do. If you don't work with us, we're going to keep taking golfers. They're going to come. It's obviously that they don't fuck with leadership. We heard what Hovland said. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but Hovland's becoming more of a voice in the PGA Tour. And so, someone's got to give, and it's probably not going to be PIF. It's going to have to be the PGA Tour if we want to get golf back together where we want to see it, where we see the best in the world play with each other more than 4 times a year. Tambo, what do you think about the Rahm move? What do you think about Liv? What do you think about the future?
A nice jacket, right? I mean, the Letterman jacket, our guy Cust, he was loving that thing. He said, give me one of those. There's someone put the face of Cust onto the jacket. I thought that was pretty funny. But just in general, you said it best. I think the P and PIF stands for power. They use their money to make it happen. Definitely a power move. No brainer for Jon Rahm. I don't care what anybody says, backlash, anything like that. You're putting that money on the table. That's the funny part, is everyone said it after the round of, like, when the first thing about the PIF deal merger type thing could happen. Everyone's like, oh, see, those guys are actually smart. They should have taken the money. Well, that's what happened now with Rahm. Definitely a big move. Obviously, like I said, PGA was talking with other people. This is a way to say, doesn't matter who you talk to. We are not going to stop. We are able to afford whatever we want. We don't care about the difference. The rest, the bigger one was like the I guess it goes way back, Kenny. I don't know if you remember this, but I literally said this from day one. I don't know if that was part of his plan the whole time, but remember when I said Rahm was like, oh, 400 million wouldn't change mine and Kelly's life and blah, blah. And it was like, he literally threw a number out there to say it instead of just saying, no matter how much they offer me, this wouldn't happen. People were like signaling their number out there and being like saying, like, if you can go get this for me, Phil, obviously boys with Phil and all that stuff, maybe that's part of it. But either way, he said things like, if the format stays the same, again, this is all whispers. I don't know anything. I have no sources on this. It just sounds like, at least in the back end, it sounds like Liv may stay the same for a little bit, but it sounds like they'd be open to changes. They obviously that's another thing that happened, I think, while we were away. Maybe it was right when we left during the swing season, but the denial of the OWGR stuff, they have to flip. So maybe there is something there, and that's what happens. But obviously he did not take the, I was going to say take the Harold Varner route, which is another thing that just happened. He just got arrested. Our poor guy Harold out there getting a DUI, but shout out to him, good dude. Just want to see what happens here with the ROM stuff though, because he said he didn't go back and say it's because of the money like everybody else. He said it's like grow the game, all these other factors. I will say this, and again, probably take some backlash, don't care. It's the setup of, we know that's bullshit, but the facts are on the table. We also know it's 500-ish million, 600's out there, 300, who knows? I remember when DJ's deal came out, it was like, what they say about him, it was like a bunch up front, but it was over 4 years or something is what finally came out, is what in the court documents that he agreed to, so it worked out to like 30 million a year on 120. All fine and dandy, all makes sense. My point would be, though, is that the short term of all this could lead to a truthfulness to it, even though it's not true in what they're saying, of the long term, where I think the best thing for the game of golf is if and when these two entities come back together and there is more events in Australia and Spain and things like that. And if they could try and get it is better for the game of golf. For what happens with the PGA, it doesn't really make a huge difference of that. I don't see them adding all these different events to their schedule. It's going to be what's it called? The new co or whatever, where they get the new company together in the name, that then they play all over the world and stuff. That will be cool. I think that would have more of like an F1 effect, if you will, of like, now it's in Monaco this week, it's in this place that week. But I'll kick it back to you. I think that's just the overwhelming thoughts at first run here.
I mean, obviously what we're going to see is in the next year or two, golf is going to change. It's going to change. I don't know how it's going to change. I don't know how we're going to get these team competitions in that Liv really, really wants. Golf is going to change, and we're just going to have to adapt, and hopefully it changes for the better when it comes to fans. That's the big thing right now. It's probably the worst case scenario that we have as golf fans on a week in and week out basis, where we don't get to see the best in golf play with each other except 4 times a year. And that's a shame. Now, we didn't have too many more, even when everyone was together, but still, you had 8, 10 events a year where, you saw everyone play together, and it was great. But that's not happening now. And hopefully these entities work together and put us in mind as fans. That, a lot of people talking about how there's a lot involved in this, and we can go on about this for hours and hours. That's not what I want to do. But there's going to be some change. We're going to see differences, and I just hope in the long run, at the very end, that they think about us. Basically,
we hope so. And there's going to be, to your point there too, just to add on quick there, because there is going to be the short-term negatives that we have to deal with. It's just, that's how things work. It's not when they say online always up. It's not always up. You have to take these. It sucks. It really sucks for us as fans. Like you said, we'll do our best to stick with it and stay on top of it. Have some fun with some of these up-and-comers. I mean, this is a preview segment. We're going to have a guys to watch segment. I got like 10 names down, and I could have went 10 more. I'm still excited for a lot of this stuff upcoming, but that's going to be more niche inside the track. Like, I get that. But in general, you can't just have always up. I will say this too, Kenny. I'll get your quick thoughts, but like, I really thought there was a lot of luster lacking even the last couple years, even when they were together, besides the majors. Like, the majors were still amazing, all this, but even like before Liv, or as it just started, okay, only so many guys went, when you still had the Rom, Scotty, etc., like, these events were still good, but I did feel like there was something missing. It almost felt like there was an extra piece that they need to find, whatever that may be, to keep the excitement, because we talked plenty of events last season where we were gambling on it, excited to still play DFS and have our bets in, but it was like, if we didn't watch Friday and Saturday at this event for the cut sweat, besides our lineups, and the Saturday do stuff with family and friends, we were fine with that. It wasn't like gripping or something that we had to go and watch. It just felt like there was almost too much. I think you brought that up at one point as well. Not sure you still feel the same, but it just felt like there was too much going on.
Yeah. Well, that's enough of that. That's enough of that talk. Let's talk about the second biggest story that happened during this break, is a rollback. The RNA and the USGA decided they're going to go ahead and roll back by 2030. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but the way I think about this is, if they're not going to change it till 2030 and they're only going to roll back 5%, do you really think the golf manufacturers right now aren't going to try and improve their product until the very last second? So by the time 2030 comes around, if you lose 5%, I bet you it's the same as what it is now. I'm not worried about it. I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's going to affect amateurs that much. I don't really care about that. I mean, from the pro perspective, whatever. Everyone's going to have to deal with it. Everyone's going to have to play with it. So that's my take. Whatever. Have it come. I don't care. It's still going to be the game of golf. Tambo, any thoughts on that?
Just quick. Yeah, two things. One, amateur-wise, it's always you're screwed anyway because people are just going to play the wrong tees than what they should be playing. So they're already screwing it up for everything else. And then from the other side of it is like the guys like Matt Fitzpatrick. I think he was the best example used. Small, scrawny, there's no way. Goes and finds it. Will Zalatoris, to a skinny, he's 110 pounds, soaking wet type thing, is what people say. I think he's actually more than that, but still goes and finds. Like, these guys can find distance in different ways. So if you roll, like, anything that happens, I think we're still going to be fine on how this sets up. And 2030, like, I'm checking my watch. This is a 2024 preview, 6 years from now. Like, I just don't care.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm pretty sure that even when they roll it back, it's still going to be basically what we have right now in 2024.
Yeah.
Because these manufacturers are going to try and improve what they can do until the very end. And then once they do, they'll roll back 5% and we'll be back to where we are today. So I got no worries about that. Last little thing, Rory, leaving the PGA board, moving out of the fucking country, like fuck the United States. I'm going back home. I think it's a good thing for him. Gets him a little bit, gets his mind a little bit clearer, gets more focused on golf, more easier to deal with the family and everything being across the pond. I think it's a good move for him. I have him winning a major this year. We'll go over that here in a little bit. Anything about that before we move on to the preview?
I do not have him winning a major. So I could see it going both ways, though. I could see this helping him. Like you said, it does add a lot to it. I mean, shit, the guy's playing everywhere in the world, though. He's over there in the race through Dubai. He's playing the European events. He's doing different things. So it's good for him. Whatever makes him happiest, maybe sometimes that does correct things. It's not like he's been playing bad. It's just he hasn't won a major. It's the same conversation all the time with Rory, one of the best talents in the entire world, but we shit on the guy because it's like he doesn't win a major in X amount of years after the hot start. Does it matter? Yes, for legacy. Is he still one of the best golfers in the entire world doing his thing? Yes. So it's like you can put it both ways. Hopefully it's what, he's happy and it's what he wants, clearly, so good for him, but not much else on that. I still did not put him into my major pool for getting the job done this year either, but again, the pool is just so tough because, like you said, everyone's coming back together at these majors, and live golfers, I think that was our last topic, have actually been playing pretty good, winning events, right? So you got some guys winning events and back-to-back events and things like that.
5 events in the fall that the live guys have won. I think Neiman won one, Burmeister won a couple, Usti won a couple. These guys, like, they don't suck. You know what I'm saying? They're still great players going out there. Let's talk about this upcoming year just a little bit. Before we get into the major talk, who do you have coming out this year that maybe people aren't talking about? Some guys that you think that can make a run this season that aren't your typical top-tier type names.
Yeah, we can't talk about Ludwig here, by the way. Just to gotta erase that one real quick. This guy already stepped onto the scene. You know what it is. I mean, he can break tons of slates this year, I think, the way he's been playing and just how good this talent truly is. But here's one for you, Kenny. I thought this one up. A DFS darling candidate. The acronym would be ADDC. Adrian Dumont de Chassart, I think is the name. I don't know how you exactly say it, but either way, ADDC is going to be a guy that people are definitely talking about. I'll just roll through the list, and if you want to add more pieces, because I'm sure some of them crosses over, I think Minwoo Lee, we saw popping off. More people are finding out about him. Obviously, we know about him, but more people are going to find out about him. Akshay, I think, is priming up for a big year. Already got the job done last year over poor Patrick Rogers, but, Akshay is going to be on the scene plenty. The Hojgaard twins. I know you could say Cootie twins, but I'm just going to stick with Pearson. I think he's the guy. But by the way, Panda, my guy Norman.
He's back.
He's back, and he's rolling back. He was some nice form to end the season, a win, all that stuff out there on the Korn Ferry Tour. And then missing a bunch of guys, I'm sure, but another one, our guy Baroff, got me pretty heavy on. And there's like I forget the exact signaling on this one. I got to go find it here real quick. His name is David Ford. And there was something on him that I had earlier that I wanted to find. It said, there may not be an amateur event that is a better predictor of pro success than the Jones Cup. And it's brought out guy. He won that event in 2023. And some of the previous winners, Justin Thomas, Ludwig, Corey Connors, Akshay, Bo Hostler, and then back before you had Kyle Stanley. Also his other guys, David Ford, tried, tested, and true. David Ford, young gunner, and then teammates of his, and also 2 other guys to watch, Nick Dunlap and Gordon Sargent. We obviously were watching him back at the Masters. That ended up being Sam Bennett, who was the Turner. I posted that out. Everyone was on Gordon. It was the guy looking back with the girl, that little meme, and looking at Bennett there. But Dunlap and Sargent were the two others I had on my list. What guys do you got on yours?
I like that you went with the more obscure guys because I didn't go in that route. I'm going guys who are just on the verge who I think are going to be able to get up to the next echelon. I think one of them is going to be your Canadians. The Canadians have been having an extremely good run here in the last 18 months, playing exceptionally good golf. Their talent is very high. I think Corey Connors takes the next step. I think Corey Connors is going to compete in the majors. I think he's going to contend at Augusta. I think he's going to have a big year, multiple wins. I think Corey, with his iron game being that strong, just get a little bit better in putting, which you've seen glimpses of him improving just a touch in the past year. I think that's somebody who can come in and get his game going and move up to the next level. Maybe not elite, but somewhere just right below that. I think he can get into that situation. Vincent Norman is a guy, a bomber, young guy who's coming out, already won on the DP World Tour a few months ago, is a proven winner, comes in. I like him this week as a 6K play. I think he's another guy who could take a step up. I think it's time for Terrell Hatton and Max Homa to start doing well at majors. We know that their game, Hatton probably had one of the best seasons last year without a win, probably when it comes down to it. Very, very consistent, one of his most consistent, best seasons on tour. I think his next step is a major. Hasn't been great at him, but hopefully he could take that next step. And same with Homa. Hopefully he can take the next step in the majors because the talent's there. Any given week he has a talent to be the best in the world. Now it's time to show it on the big stage. Finally, this one is almost an elite player who I think is time. I think the way everything's surrounding him right now, I think can lead to a hell of a season, and that's Patrick Cantlay. I think he sort of relishes the role of villain, like Patrick Green once did. Remember what happened at the Ryder Cup? Once everyone came down on him and started talking all this shit about the hat, the dude went out there just straight up fucking bald. Right? He took that negative energy that people were giving him and used that in his game, like we've seen guys that a lot of people don't like do, aka Patrick Reed. He could be the next Patrick Reed out there. Get that major win. I think Cantlay's gonna have a big year. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that because they're not the biggest fan of him. But I think he's gonna have a big year.
Guys named Patrick. Guys named Patrick. You love Patrick villains.
I like Patrick villains.
Don't forget about Reed.
I'm gonna be a fan. I'm gonna be rooting for only one of the few. Let's get to the big part. Let's get to the majors. We'll start with the Masters. Tambo.
One at a time, like we always.
Tambo, your pick to win the Masters.
Now you got me thinking when you just said it back. It's definitely not this, but if there was a major, I see him winning. I know it's crazy, but it would be the Masters. Is Corey Connors, the guy you brought up?
Yeah.
Funny enough, it's the Mike Weir green jacket, the next Canadian to step up and get the job done. I could definitely see it. We've seen him play very well at that course. He's not my pick. My pick for the Masters is a dual one, because it flips with the Open. I could see both of these guys, and I don't want to mix the two, but I'm going to say it because this is how it is. But I think it's either another one for Scotty Scheffler, and he gets the job done there again, or I think it's where Hovland steps up. And Hovland's game has changed quite a bit. And the reason I brought up the Open piece, I'm trying to stick on one thing here. Hovland's game has changed a bunch. I think he's a better player than we've ever seen. He had that great quote. You talked earlier about him stepping up and saying things on the live stuff, his voice getting bigger. But he had like a Gandhi type moment saying the line of it's not about it's underrated how much you can do in the short term versus what that looks like in the long term and all this stuff. And what people overrate and underrate, and how he's just continued to put the work in to become that much of a better player. I think it's one of those two. I think Hovland gets the major this year. This is the one I could see him doing it at. I think it just sets up well for him. The reason I brought up the Open, and that I'll skip ahead to my last one, just give it now, is because it's at Troon. And what we saw last time, and just thinking of that, you talk about a guy, those postage stamp greens and things like that. I think it is going to be we know it's a tee to green fest. There was weather involved back in 2016, but when you got Hovland or Scotty at that one, I think both of them get a major, and I think those are the ones I see them winning at. So that's my thoughts. Who do you got at the Masters this year?
Guys, I think that will contend. Rahm, Connors, Cantlay, Russell Henley, Patrick Reed. I think those guys can contend. The guy I picked for winning, and this one's basically I'm chalk city except for this event. My winner of the 2024 Masters, Justin Rose. All right, so bear with me here, okay? Great season last year. win at Pebble Beach, 14th in strokes gained total, 17th in approach, top 30 in putting, top 35 in scoring average, second in bunker play, 20th in around the green, top 10 with his long irons. Everything you need at Augusta, he has. And he has last year 2 runner-ups at Augusta. Here's a story that I told when I went to the 2017 Masters, where Sergio ended up winning. And I bet Sergio, and I also bet Justin Reed, and it came down to Sergio versus Reed. I'm sorry, not Justin Rose. The reason I picked Rose was we were on, I think, 11. I was watching him in a practice round, and some guy, it was late afternoon. Everyone had already basically teed off. He came around 4 or 5 o'clock to do a little practice before, late night practice, 9 holes. So no one was there, really, fan-wise. Everyone was clearing out. So I went up, we were watching Rose hit his tee shot. I think it's on 11. It's that big dog leg that goes right to left, really, really far downhill. It's either 10 or 11. And so the guy asked him, he's like, why should we bet you 66-1? And he's like, hold on, watch this. And he hits this 3-wood, and it's just this beautiful right to left. He has that nice ball shape. He can go right to left, right down the middle of the fairway, about 320 yards downhill. It's a beautiful, beautiful drive. And he turns to the guy like, that's why you should bet me in 66-1. The thing about Justin Rose is, I think he's very image conscious, right? And he realizes after last year, the success he had in the season, and how he's become like the last bastion of this Ryder Cup peoples, of the European Ryder Cup wave that has basically taken over the Ryder Cup and will be true winners. But the other guys have sort of gone off to live. Their reputations have been sort of, I wouldn't say scarred, maybe scarred by moving that. They're not as high uppity in the rankings of great British players. Now, I think with one more major, Justin Rose can be the second greatest British player of all time, behind Nick Faldo. And I think he knows this, and he's very, very image conscious. I mean, look at his sponsors. He's with MasterCard, Morgan Stanley, all these high-end type deals. I think he realizes this, and he's going to shoot for this goal. And I think he has a chance to win at Augusta this year. This is my one sort of out of the realm type pick for my Masters pick this year. All right, so for the PGA Championship is going to be at Valhalla. What we've seen at Valhalla the last couple of times, the last winner was Rory, 2014. The winner before that was Tiger, 2000. What you can gather from those 2 times and those 2 winners, they were both at the pinnacle of their careers at that moment in time. Tiger's coming. I think this is a part of the Tiger Slam, if I'm not mistaken, or it was a year before, a year after, somewhere in that mix with the Tiger Slam, where Tiger was at the pinnacle of his career. This is when Rory, I think this was the second to last major he won. I think he won the Open Championship. I think maybe he won back-to-back of the year. I'm not 100% sure. But this is one of the last majors that he won in 2014. Again, he was at the pinnacle of his career with multiple major wins in the last 18 months, plus a 6 months forward past this event. So what we're seeing right now, what I want is a guy playing at the pinnacle of his career. And that's going to be Victor Hovland for the PGA Championship. You've seen guys get their first win, their first major at the PGA Championship. The guy's playing the best golf of his career. He's becoming a leader in the PGA Tour. He's becoming almost the face of the PGA Tour. And at this point in time, I think this is the event he wins. Pretty chalky pick. I don't care. I'm going on Hovland with the major, with his second major win. Some guys that I think that can compete. Rory, of course, the last time we won here, Oberg is another guy I think could do really well with the way he drives the golf ball at this event. I think this could be something where you could see him top 5 and really, really make a name for himself as a top elite type golfer right after this event for Oberg. Tambo, who do you like?
I like this one. I really like this event. I feel good about this one. I actually bet the guy I'm about to say at this one already, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I thought you were going to say Justin Thomas. Obviously, it's in Kentucky. The fact that if he, kind of gives him time to get his game back right, which we started to see already after all the shit he got before Ryder Cup, has come back around. So, you can still bet him in some places 35-1. So if you want to get on him now and you think he's going to turn it around in the swing season, go bet him. But everything you described, about Hovland, and you could even say of the face of the PGA more now than what it used to be, where it was kind of a thing and it was just the best talent in social media. But I'm going to say the guy you mentioned that you're watching this season, Major Max, is going to be the headline this year. We're going to get a Major Max home of victory. It's funny because it coincides with that. JT has the PGA Championships. It was his first one. It was also his second, but you get it at the PGA Championship. It's going to be in JT's hometown, Kentucky. And then it's also going to be the fact that you can go bet him right now at 40-1, maybe more in other places, but I got it at 40. We know what Max is going to do. We know what the swing season, the Cali swing, all the stuff we're going to get out of Max. I think he's going to do really well leading up to this, and I think this number is going to get cut down. So you can go bet it now. That's one future, the only one I have right now on the books. I missed all those Hovland 25s and 20s that people got back. And it's just one of those things. But this is one I feel pretty good about. You talked about all the stuff for Hovland. I think it all coincides with Max, and Max is older. Like that's also another thing. He's just playing the best golf we've seen him play. His mind is in the game. Any course, I think, sets up well, but especially a PGA Championship where it's a little bit less of the trickies of where, like, Augusta, kind of got to know a little bit more about it. Not saying he doesn't or can't, just say it's a little bit tougher. U.S. Opens play extremely tough. Not saying he can't do it. He's been fine, but just it's been tough at majors. For Max, I think this is the year we get the headline, Major Max. I think this is the one he gets it done at.
I like that pick. I'm a fan of that. Third major, U.S. Open for Pinehurst. Tambo, who you got?
I got a live guy. It's going to be the live guy we probably know and expect. Maybe not. Maybe you've got a different one, but I got Jon Rahm. I think it's time. I think he's winning another major this year. I think this is the one. He can win any of them. He can win multiple of them. I think the funny joke that people had back when it was, I think, Pat Perez, before he took the live money himself, and was saying, I need a big offer. He was saying, this guy is dead serious. Jon Rahm, that is, in the interview that Pat Perez was in, saying he is going to get the major record, and he's going to win the most majors of all time. Whether that's true, I mean, you can bet on that type of stuff already. I don't think he's getting there, but I do feel like, again, he can win multiple majors. I think I have him for this one. That's what I'm putting him down for, feeling comfortable with. Obviously, he's got it done before at this one, at the U.S. Open, so it's fine. It's just the hardest setup. It's the best golfer in the world at the time, whatever it is. I don't think the live stuff hurts Jon Rahm at all, and I think he's going to be fine, especially coming around to U.S. Open time and getting primed up for that. So I picked Jon Rahm. Doesn't matter the course. I know what it is, I'm saying, but it doesn't matter to me, things like that.
I think a live guy wins the U.S. Open as well. My thought process on this is Pinehurst in July, that part of North Carolina in July is deathly hot. I was there in late August this past year for an auction draft. You stayed in Pinehurst, played Pine Needles. I stayed at the Pinehurst Resort. 110 degrees was the heat index. No wind, just stifling humidity. It was miserable. And that was in August. July is even worse. And now the reason why I think the live guys have an advantage is because at this point in time, almost all the elevated events on tour are complete. Guys are going to be grinding, playing all these elevated events, playing a couple of other events too. The live guys are going to be more fresh. Probably 8 events played or less up until the U.S. Open comes. And they're going to come out there. They're going to be fresh. The big storyline is there's going to be a bunch of live guys who were in contention in the first 2 majors. The live guy's finally going to win it. I'm going to go Brooks Koepka for this one to get his 6th major, to go 2 clear of Rory as our generation's best golfer. And you know how we measure the best golfer is with majors. I'm going to, and the reason why, this is going to be a grind. The winner in 2000 was like Michael Campbell. That was the last time it was there before Martin Keimer. He won it, I think, 1 under or even par. Keimer, when he won here, and he was just hitting that Texas wedge all day, putting from 85, 100 feet. That's what Keimer was doing. He was 8 under, 9 under, I think, to win, but second place was a -1. Mm-hmm. So this course is a slog. It's going to be a grind. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. It's going to be tough. I'm going to go with the guy with the mental, I think the mental fortitude to get through something like this and have the energy from playing in live, playing less events. I'm going with Koepka for the U.S. Open. All right, for the Open Championship, I think leading up to the Open Championship, the big story is going to be, is live golf better than the PGA Tour? Because we've just seen Koepka win the U.S. Open. We've seen all these guys, live guys, play well at the majors. What's going to happen? And you guys know I do not like Rory McIlroy, but I think what he's doing right now, getting his mind off the business part of the PGA, moving out of fucking America, moving back to his home in London, getting his mind right. This is his best chance. Royal Troon. It was his best chance to win a major. Now, here's the thing, like, he's running out of time. I'd say he has, maybe being generous here, 30 majors left in his prime. He's 35 years old. So 30, let me give him 7 years, 42, 43. That's really giving him a lot of credit. Okay. Yeah, and you think that's still plenty of time, right? Do it well. You know, he hasn't won a major in over 40 majors right now. So his time is running short. He has to get that major bugaboo out of the way. I think this is his best chance at Royal Troon. The place he went, played in fifth, was in fifth place the last time he came out. I think the mind is going to be right. He's going to go there, finally get the job done, and get that fifth major, and then really make it a battle between the PGA and LIV, and make it super interesting, and it force the PGA and LIV by that time to combine and get all these golfers on the same playing field more than 4 times a year. And the catalyst of that, funny enough, will be Rory McIlroy winning that event, even though he's out of the board. He's out of that whole realm right now. He's going to be the reason why they're forced to come in together, because everyone's going to be clamoring for it. After Koepka wins the U.S. Open, Rory comes in, wins the Open Championship. Who do you got?
Yeah, I said earlier with the Hovland Scotty, but the best part of this, everyone thought they weren't getting a story time with Kenny, and you just literally told that as a story. I was mesmerized by the way you had, this just happened at the Open, or the U.S. Open, and now Rory does this, and he steps in, and now this, and this comes together. It was just perfect. Perfectly laid out. Expect nothing less from the GOAT telling the stories. Love to hear it. I think it makes sense. Obviously, Rory's always a favorite in these types of events and doesn't come through, but maybe it's the Koepka in your story getting to 6 and being like, now I'm really behind. Not only that, but got to grab this one and take things together so that we can join forces moving forward. So I really like that. And it's always Rory seemingly putting a cap on the season. Why not on the major season as well? So I don't hate that. I had Hovland or Scotty. Like I said, I get the vision still in my head. I know it's back in 16, but of like the Stenson-Mickelson battle down the stretch. I mean, there was a weather thing that separated some of that and all that, but just thinking of the course and the setup, it's just a tee to green fest. Other guys can fit that mold for sure. I just think it's, if not one of these guys at the Masters, I think maybe we see it at the end of the year around the Open time. So that's my 2 picks there.
Go ahead and list your 4 so everyone can remember.
Yeah, so for the Masters and the Open, it's Scotty or Hovland. I don't think anyone gets 2. I've got it that way, so flip-flop them, whatever. I've got Major, Max, Homa, getting the job done. It's my favorite one at the PGA Championship. It's the only one I bet for a future at 40-1 because I think he's going to have a good Cali swing early start to the season, which will hurt those numbers and have people running out to grab them. And I got John Rahm getting the job done at the U.S. Open.
Now, of course, a couple of worries that you're going to have for this is, the people that won a Royal Troon, not the last person, but the time before was Todd Hamilton. And the person that won at Pinehurst the time before Martin Keimer was Michael Campbell. So it's possible that those 2 fields, you can get some crazy surprise type winner, which is always fun to see. But my 4 winners for the majors this year, for the Masters, it's going to be Justin Rose. For the PGA Championship, Victor Hovland. For the U.S. Open, Brooks Koepka. For the Open Championship, Rory McIlroy. And then golf becomes one of the biggest sports. the rise of golf happens again. Everyone gets combined by the end of next year with Koepka and Rory winning the last 2 majors, and the fans finally get what they want, and we get to see these guys play golf together 10 to 12 times a year.
And we don't have to watch the TGL maybe. Maybe they pack that idea.
My thing about the TGL is someone blew my conspiracy theory is someone did that shit on purpose.
Yeah. Maybe.
Someone did that shit on purpose because they knew that, Rahm was going to had to leave. or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I think there's
It does have some ties to it. I don't.
That shit was so weird
too often, but
that
yeah,
shit was
it is
like
weird.
the day before they announced it. They're like, "Oh, the place was supposed to do it. The ship blew up." We're like, "What the fuck? How did that happen?" You know what I'm saying? Like, how does that happen?
Well, they talked about it. Like, what if there had been the first? What if it had been the first event, and that happens during the event, and the place just collapses on all these top golfers out there, playing? I don't know. It just definitely seems wild. But yeah, I love your story here. I like the theory of it all. I thought it was good breaking it all down. We can get to the Sentry and talk about this week's some.
All right, yeah, let's get to it. I mean, we spent an hour on this. That's why there's time codes, people. Time codes. Let's get to the Sentry. Let's talk about this event. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the Sentry. The Plantation Course at Kapalua. It's a 7,600-yard par 73, 4 par 5s, only 3 par 3s. The course is unlike any other played on tour. It's built on the side of a mountain and near the coast, so elevation changes, breathtaking views, all that good stuff. The course is not as long as the yardage says, 7,600 yards plus, but there's massive elevation changes throughout the whole course. And there's only 3 par 3s. So, so it's going to play a lot shorter than what it says, 7,200, 7,100 yards, something like that after the elevation changes. At first glance, you're going to expect bombers to have an edge, but the course record was shot by KJ Choi, Graham McDowell, and Xander. Like, not sure who's who with bombers out there, right? Harris English has won this event. Again, not really a bomb. I would say iron play, especially inside of 150 yards, is more important than bombing the ball off the tee. But of course, length is going to help. Nearly 40% of all approach shots here over the years have come inside 150 yards. Another 40% have come outside of 200 yards. Wedges, long irons. That's how you're going to win this event, and putting. That's how you're going to win this event. All right. The golf course went through some renovation in 2021, supposed to make the course a little bit more difficult for pros. That shit didn't happen. You're going to look at, mid-20s, 30 under, something like that, to win this event. It's going to be cakewalk, birdie fest, unless there's a bunch of wind. And we'll see how that plays out, because it is on the coast. That could happen. All right. So off the tee, golfers are going to see, huge fairways, very, very little rough. Over 70% of fairways have been hit on this course over the years, and golfers can bomb it out there this week with little penalty for missing the fairways, unless they hit it in one of the 90-plus bunkers on the course. Usually there's a good amount of rollout on these fairways, which has always kept the shorter hitters in play. Now, if golfers are exceptionally wild off the tee, there is some high rough. This is rough where it's very possible to lose your ball. We've seen stuff where, like JT a few years ago hit one in this high rough, spent his 5 minutes looking for the ball, found it in like 4 minutes and 58 seconds. And he ended up, saving that hole and winning the event, or at least being one of the top finishers in that year. And so, he actually did win the event. Hideki should have won that. He came in second because of that. So big numbers are possible, but only on crazy wild tee shots. The fairways themselves, hilly, undulating. Approach shots, the golfers are going to see very large undulating greens. The greens are some of the largest on tour, and it shows over 80% of all approaches hit the green. This number definitely dropped in the last couple of years, but a lot of that has to do with a little bit of wind. And then, of course, when they redid the greens are a little bit firmer. They're not that firm anymore. It's going to be, target golf is what you're going to see, unless the wind picks up, of course. First timers have tended to struggle here, at least the top 5. But we have seen some. The one that comes to mind probably is going to be Tom Kim last year, finishing 5th in his first appearance. One of the main advantages veterans have had at this course is knowing exactly where the pin locations will be. But prior to 2021, that was the case. But after the new green complexes have been changed, it's sort of even a playing field in that situation where, they changed those greens so they can make more places where they can put the pin. And so that advantage for veterans has sort of waned a little bit since the new greens came in 2021. Since they took away a lot with the renovations, again, a lot of new pin locations, which golfers are going to be able to choose from. Plus, this makes me, the talent level of these young guys are so good nowadays that I'm not really going to worry about that too much for first timers, except maybe in cash. There's still one first timer in my cash lineup, but I had two, and I took one out because I was still worried about that. Now, still in the last 9 years, only 8 golfers have had a top 5 finish in their first appearance at Kapalua. Like 6 of them were named Spieth, Hideki, Ron, Rory, Koepka, and Tom Kim. So if you're elite, you might get through. If you're not elite and you play this course for the first time, you might struggle. Tambo, what are you looking for in golfers this week?
Yeah, it's a lot of what you already broke down. Again, 60-man field drops down to 59 because it's still on DraftKings right now. If you're listening to this, that Rory is in, but the official list came out from the Sentry that he's not going to be in. It's 59, so you'll see that, but it's a smaller event, so you take that into consideration. You talked about it, just, if you're looking at approach, hopefully closer shots, it is those large greens, the undulating greens, like you said, propensity against the three putt, you want to avoid that because that's with the undulating greens, things like that can happen, but mostly birdie or better is the focus. And then really, Kenny, the biggest thing for me is some of the stuff you mentioned, like debutants struggling. The recent form has typically been a thing. Even though I know everyone's on a little bit of a break right now, it's been the way that it's always been at this course. We know a lot about this spot. We can talk through that when we get to the tiers. And then lastly, it's still DFS thinking cap on my mindset is that it's a lazy week. We're during NFL. We're still in the heart of the NFL. It's week 17. Like, you got a lot going on. Anyone who's playing is probably playing because there's overlay, or the opposite. If there's no overlay, it's because there's good contests out there this week on DraftKings, the Fantasy Golf World Championship, the last chance to get into the King of the Desert. Like, there's lots of good tournaments out there, but I think people will just go with what they hear on the available content or what the stat sites say exactly. So, we'll get some condensed ownership when it gets to certain places. And I can imagine Eric Cole is going to be one of those guys, spoiler alert, but when we get down there, probably very popular based on how his swing season went, probably rightfully so. But we can get to the tiers, man. I don't know what you're doing, but 4 guys up top goes down to 3 with no Rory.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and start. You goes Xander, Hovland, and Scotty. I'm playing Scotty. He went out there, did his thing at the Hero, which is a pitch and putt, but whatever. At least it showed that he has some of that competitive luster in there, playing well, hitting his irons, great, putted decent. It's the putter, of course, that's going to be the big thing for him. Of everything else, it should suit this course. I got no problem playing Scotty. Now it's the difficult part. Hovland, I think, will probably be extremely popular. Just the way, like I said, he's becoming the face of golf. He's becoming the most popular player out there. He is one of the best players out there, talent-wise. I sort of like Xander a little bit better. Better course history. Hovland hasn't played this course very well. Doesn't mean he can't, but he hasn't. Xander's played this course very, very well. He went out there. At least he played a couple of events down in the fall. I think he played a Zozo, if I'm not mistaken. So he actually played something. Skipped the Hero, but at this point in time, I think I'm going to go Xander over Hovland, but that could change. What are you doing?
Scotty, sticking with the talents up top. I actually like a lot more guys 9,700 and up than I do when we get to 9,500 down to 8,800. Like when the Hattons, Morikawa's, Fleetwood's, Tom Kim's, all those guys, I don't like as much as these guys up top. So right now, probably Scotty Xander is where I'm leaning, but I like a guy better than Xander in the next range. So I'll kick off the 9Ks just saying that. Everything you said on the top range stands. It's a first look. We're going through it. I've already looked at some of the stuff, but like Scotty for sure, Xander, but I like Cantlay. Cantlay on easier courses in general. The people look at the history too, and you see it like 4th, 13th, 4th, 16th, just in the last 4. And it's like, is it good? Is it bad? It's not the greatest, but you see Xander 1, 2, 5, 12. I know he had the WD. To me, they're the same play. They oftentimes are. I prefer Cantlay. It's not just the $100 savings. That does nothing. It's to set up more of him on easier courses. I talked about Max. I think this could be a spot for Max. It's a shorter field. It's a smaller field. I know people don't like him as much for scores when it's like 30 under or something, but you just don't know. And at 9,700, I'm willing to take the chance. So Scotty, Cantlay, Homa are like in the range 9,700 and up that I like early on. And I actually don't have a lot of love. Maybe Hatton would be my other guy in the 9K range, but just not a lot of love for that mid or bottom 9K range early on in the week.
Yeah, I consider this a Homa course. And I always say you play Homa on Homa courses. So I'm going to go ahead, play Max. He's improved every year that he's played this event. I think he was 25th in 2020, 15th in 2022, 3rd last year. So I like that gradual improvement that he's played. He's played some meaningful golf. He won a DP World Tour event in late in the fall in November. So he's played some, meaningful competitive golf here recently in the last month to 6 weeks. So I'm a fan. I'm going to play Homa. First cash game cornerstone. Second cash game cornerstone, going to be Morikawa. He hurt us last year at this event, was in the lead by like 8,700 strokes, and then blew it on Sunday. And that started my year off horribly. I remember it vividly, but I'm going to go back to him. Again, another guy who played a meaningful event in the fall. He won the Zozo out there. He's played this course, of course, well, which we saw last year. When it comes to iron play, hey, on a course like this is where I like to use them. I'm going to go ahead with Kawa as my second cash game cornerstone. GPPs, I'm going to go with Cantley once again. I think he's going to have a big year. I think start right here. I think the price tag is pretty cheap. For a guy of his ilk. Again, iron play, exceptionally strong. And of course, he's very, very good at par 5. I like Cantley for GPPs. Let's go into this 8K range. My third cash game cornerstone is going to be Tom Kim. Any guy who comes in here for the first time and finishes top 5, I'm going to take a hard look at them. And again, he's played meaningful golf in the fall. He won the Shriners. He played, I think, 3 or 4 different Euro Tour events all the way up to the DP World Tour about 5 or 6 weeks ago, where he finished in 15th place. He's had that competitive nature of his game throughout the fall. It hasn't really waned. I like Tom Kim for this. He's going to be my third cash game cornerstone. Again, wedges, extremely strong. Long irons, very, very good. Those are the 2 things you want to look for in your golfers this week. When it comes to GPPs, in this range, I like Fowler. I think Oberg is going to be extremely popular. I think I might even use him in cash. We'll see. I haven't decided yet, but Fowler, at least he played the hero. He got a little bit of golf in. He's played this course exceptionally well throughout his career. Numerous top 5s, numerous top 10s. I think he makes a good pivot from probably a very, very popular Oberg. Tambo.
I liked your I liked your Valor call. Definitely. I was going to say that, everything you just said, but I also liked your Morikawa reminder. I actually forgot about that. What was it? Was it actually, I think it was 8 strokes, wasn't it?
6 or 8, something like that.
It was a big number anyway that he blew. That was definitely, I forgot all about that starting the season off last year. Then I went back and looked at some of the other numbers. I don't mind him as well up there. I guess I actually would like him better than Hatton. So I up in that 9K range, it was just Cantlay, Homa, and probably Morikawa, maybe some Hatton. That's just those 4 guys that I kind of have early interest in. Obviously, I think Ludwig is going to be extremely popular here. I think there's a couple pivots you can go to there. I don't know if Tom Kim stays popular as he has in the past. He's now 8,900. There's a bit of a group below him I think people could get to. But below him, you mentioned it already with Fowler, I actually still like Jason Day and Tony Finau. 2 guys that are just right around that average price point here. I think if you look back, Day, it's more before, but he's played okay. He had an 11th place recently. He's played okay at this course in the past. Finau himself, just in general, a 7th here last year, a 4th recently. We know what Finau can do, and he could score. Another guy that you can play on easy courses, can go low. So I like Finau. And then I always like my guy, Sung J M, 5th, 8th, and a 13th here. He was okay in the swing season, but even like last year, just back and forth, up and down type of year, but scoring a ton of fantasy points and at below the average. That's just a slap in the face to my boy Sung Jae. So got to play him here at 8,100. He's the other guy I would play to round up this 8K range.
Going into the 7K range, Tampa, who you like?
It's like a bunch of guys there right at that 75 to 77 range. Your guy, your Masters winner this year in your story there, Justin Rose. I don't mind him. Corey Connors, who we both talked about there. Couple of guys that can score. Thigala and Glover, I think they could put something together. So this range, I'll play more guys in, but it's kind of like a drop-off after that. I'll mention the Eric Cole stuff and let you get to it. One thing about Eric Cole, you can't spell close without Cole, but you also can't spell close, like close the tournament, without Cole. Man, he was close and couldn't close. 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th in 4 of his last 5 events. He had a couple other top 6s on the season. He had the 2nd place at the Honda. That I still remember that chip from, the spot where we were at the year we went. It was right there. Just chip it up. He went too far past. We had that happen. But man, just looks like a guy that didn't really have anything on his side as far as getting those wins. But what a year for him. So obviously he's going to be extremely popular here. But what more can you say? I just listed it off. You go off that. I guess the other angle would be hasn't played here. So if you go off the recent form, got to get him in there. But if you go off of has he played here before, hopefully that's the narrative if you're fading him that you could say that works in your favor. But there's a lot of guys above and below him that you can play that I think it's fine if you wanted to move off him in your single entry or something like that. But where are you at with Eric Cole?
I mean, the thing about this is in this field, which is a strong field, he's first from 100 to 125. Give me a ton of wedges. He's 6th from 200 plus. He's 4th in birdie or better percentage. All in this field with all these great golfers in it. Here's the thing about him, and I'm deathly afraid. He is my final cash game cornerstone.
There you go.
Eric Cole.
Makes sense.
I'm deathly afraid of it because I was not on him last year. I couldn't believe what he was doing. I was like, there is no way this fucking mini tour player that's 36 years old and has never made it to the tour before in his life can continue doing what he's doing. It's a fluke. It's a fluke. That's how I thought of it the entire last year. I was like, great story, but there's no way he can hold on. These type of stories don't happen in pro golf. It's never happened, really, in pro golf to this type of ilk where you see a 36-year-old who never made it on the PGA Tour, who only had 2 seasons on the Korn Ferry Tour, and one of them he lost his card, played like ass. He's playing mini tour events for $10,000, or something like that throughout his whole career. And then all of a sudden, he finally makes it on the PGA Tour and becomes like one of the top 20 best golfers on tour of the season. Like, this shit doesn't happen. So all last year, I was like, it's going to end. It's not going to happen. And now I believe. And now, since I believe, I fully expect him to fold and fall away. But until that happens, the way he's playing right now, he's my final cash game cornerstone. I don't give a fuck. Of his 60-70% ownership in cash, he's going to be there. If you want to pivot, which I can understand, if you want to pivot, Corey Connor's right there. Corey Connor's right there. Okay? So if you want to pivot. So my 4 cash game cornerstones are going to be Homa at, 9,700. Morikawa, 9,100. Tom Kim, 8,900. And then Eric Cole, 7,400, leaves over $15,000. Other guys that I like in the 7K range, Giuseppe Straka, coming out there. I know it's a pitch and putt, but he was second at the Hero, playing against some big boys out there. Now, not some, I think he feels comfortable playing with these big dogs out there. I don't see a problem with that. The guy's been playing excellent golf all year. I'm going to go ahead and use him in GPPs. Russell Henley, worried that he hasn't played in a little bit of time, but with his iron play and his birdie rate, I like him up here. I'll use Russell Henley. Down below in the lower 7K range, give me Cameron Davis, 7,100. Played a lot of meaningful golf in the fall, a lot of golf in his home country of Australia, playing competitively, going out there week in and week out, grinding, having that mental fortitude out there and not letting it go and taking it easy, going out there grinding and playing hard. I really like that for Cam, and the way he played during the fall wasn't the greatest, but he played decent, and he's out there week in and week out. I like Cam Davis in the low 7K range. Tambo, anybody else you miss?
No, I love the Cam Davis call. That was the one down there. He may pick up some steam too, but I'm okay with that. Like, it can't be as much as like a guy like Eric Cole, and you can get different in other places. But I do think we have a pretty decent 6K range here. Obviously, you're getting some of the winners from last season, some top FedEx Cup guys, like all this stuff where this is where they can come in and make something happen. So I'll take us right into that. I'm not sure. We didn't touch on this yet, but it was another kind of mini storyline, not even, but kind of just to mention it because it affects this guy. But like Cam Young fired Paul Tesori, and Paul Tesori comes on. I'm not sure if that's public, but I know that somebody sent me that. So I was reading this. Brendan Todd picked him up, right? So now Brendan Todd's got him on the bag. He is...
I'm using him.
Yeah, 6,900. Good enough history here, even though some of it's older. Played a couple events where it's like, again, when he's getting 20 and 28th in the swing season, that's fine. At 6,900 in this field, we've seen him in the past. The Todd father can get hot with the putter. Maybe this helps him out. I would assume Tesori's on his bag starting this week. Even if he wasn't, though, that's just the storyline that goes with the name. I'm still playing Brendan Todd here in this spot. I think a couple other guys, Tom Hoagie was one that I could see doing something. He did I think he was third here last year or the year before. He's had decent, at least a good result here. And he was, I think it was last year. I think it was like Tom Kim coming 5th last year. I think Tom Hoagie was another guy playing it for the first time. Other guys like down here that you won't see much pop up for them, but I'll still play them would be Svensson. You mentioned your guy earlier, Vincent Double R Norman. Been my guy for a little while too. I like playing him. He won at I know you talked about his overseas win. He won at the Barbasol as well, which is a go low type of event where you can make that happen. Now we get it in a smaller field, just a talented guy. Definitely have interest in him. I had a 15 and a 27th over the swing season type of session there. And then Luke List, Akshay, another guy that I'm always going to be interested in. And my boy, Nick Hardy, down at the bottom. I can't leave this guy off, though, because Mayo wanted him brought up. As soon as I posted the pricing was out for this event, he said Camille Villegas coming off of, I think he had a second and a win, right? Back-to-back. He got the job done over the swing season. He's free, 6,000 on the money. So just some of the guys down here that I think you could go to. What are you doing here in the 6K range?
I mean, Villegas, the wedge game is very, very good, too. I like that. But my favorite play is Luke List at 6,200. I feel like it's too cheap for a guy who won in the fall, racket top 25s, 2 wins in the last, 18 months, something like that, right? Finished 11th here last year, which was the first time I think he's played here in his career. Had a nice little top 15, 11th place, solid work. This is a guy I like, top 20 tee to green in this field. Give me a bunch of Luke Lists. I'm going to use it in cash so I can get somebody in that mid 8K range for my final pick, either an Oberg or a Fowler. Haven't really decided how I'm going to end that. But it gives me that flexibility. And, that's a pretty solid top 5 for your cash lineup. Homa, Morikawa, Tom Kim, Oberg, Cole. That seems pretty fucking good right there for a cash lineup. And then you got the upside with a $6,200 list. Or you can, if you don't like Oberg, since he's never played the course before, Fowler, with that multiple top 5s, multiple top 10s at this course. I think that's the way to go in cash. At least that's the way I am going to go. Other guys, I like Svensson a lot. Finished 3rd of the RSM. Like I said, I think there's going to be some big, big moves from the Canadians this year. And he's one of them that had a chance. Him and Connors, I think, are the two that we can see shoot up big time when it comes to their level of play. Again, Norman, like you said, Brendan Todd, like you said. But, I mean, I'm going to go Luke List, Svenny, my 2 favorites.
Yeah, did you love for Seamus Power real quick? He had a couple good finishes here the last 2 years, but we saw nothing really from him.
His game, he seems like he's injured. Something's wrong with him.
Okay.
I think something's wrong.
Yeah.
All right, so we miss anybody? We good?
No, I think you said it best. Obviously, we got through the tiers. We want to give you guys everything possible for this upcoming event, the Sentry. No more Tournament of Champions, just the Sentry. People keep saying that. Now, it's one of those things I was like, gotta go with what they actually call it, just like what we say for the other stuff. For bets, nothing this week. Obviously, we'll have those back for you guys at the Sony Open. For one and done, it starts at the Sony Open. We'll have our picks on the show, talk through a little bit of strategy as we always do. I'll let them know, Kenny, and then you can close us out. But you guys can find me, speaking with getting the names right, XFK Twitter, like they like to say. You can find me on X at Toetag and Tambo. Check me out there. The tidbits will start for the Sony as well. So those will be back every Wednesday for the Sony. My upcoming schedule, just quickly while we got it here before I kick it back to Kenny, is going to be Monday, a first look show on the Ship It Nation YouTube station with my guy Degenerates 75. Kenny and I will do our normal Fantasy Golf Degenerates Monday evenings. Get it out as soon as possible on the Mayo Media Network and podcasts. Listen to those everywhere. Subscribe, like, review, do all you can to help us out this season. We do appreciate it. Free to do, and it goes a long way. On Tuesday, Ship It Nation YouTube station again. Hoop and myself, full DFS preview with ownership at hand and all those other things that we have to take it to the next level. And then on Wednesday, I'll be live in studio with Mayo with final ownership, lineup construction, roster construction, I should say, lineup building, all that stuff that we're going to be doing on that show. If you guys want to check us out at shipitnation.com, use the promo code Mayo, and we will have our Tuesday launch show this week coming up with Hoop and I to check that out as well. Some news there also. Kenny, let them know where they can find you, and good to be back with you, my friend.
Hey, make sure you guys check out Mayo's One and Done. We're going to be going over that on a week in, week out basis. We'll have our One and Done picks every single week starting next week. So make sure you join that flat payout. It's going to be a lot of fun. Go ahead and join Mayo's One and Done. You can find me on X at KendoVT. You can find my article every week on gupscorner.com. Use promo code Kenny. Save yourself 30% on a membership. All right, guys. It's our 9th year. It's a big deal. 9 years, long time. Love this event. Let's win some motherfucking money. Degen Nation.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan.